Let's go. It's time. Star Wars. Knights of the Old Republic. To the Sith Lords. Let's kill all Jedi. Hell yeah.
Yo, what up, Jay Fair? Good to see you. It has been a while. Welcome in. Yep, I'm still here. I'm still banging. Still doing it. Yes, one more indie Saturday before the trip. Yes. What is up, everybody? How we doing today? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, all around the world. My name is Ezekiel Third, and we're gonna finish this today. Just remembered I didn't fully brush out the old beard. There we go. That's better. Anyways, how we doing? Got a week until I leave. 1 week until I leave for the burn. Gonna be leaving a week from today. But we got some streams for you. Today we're gonna finish up Knights of the Old Republic. And then tomorrow we're doing the big walk. The big walk happens tomorrow. The finale of that, hopefully, happens tomorrow. And then Friday, I don't know what we're doing on Friday. I'll figure out a game for Friday, and then Saturday's Indie Saturday, and the If Then for September. Yes, we're doing If Then about a week early because I'll be gone. So, if you want to come out for the If Then and the Indie Saturday shenanigans this Saturday, please do. Give me a nice send-off. And then Drop Frames will be playing some War Dogs. Instead of doing our normal show, we're going to be all jumping into some co-op War Dogs. And then Monday I take off, and then Tuesday will be like my last bonus stream before I leave. I was kind of waffling on it, but we'll do a Tuesday stream before we leave. So that will be my last one. You totally love Singing City 2? I'm sure I would. I'm looking into it. There may be an opportunity to do something with Singing City. We'll see. We shall see. Yep, and then on Saturday, and it will run till Zeke gets back. That's right, I forgot to tell you, like, anybody who subs, give subs or resubs while I'm away. During those days that I'm away, if you give sub, resub, or just sub, while the reruns are running, Scott is running reruns while I'm gone, you will also be entered in for the If Then drawing. So if you don't get here Saturday, the If Then live will be huge. That's the hope, Prince Ali. That's the hope. I don't know, though. That's the hope. What if you resub twice? Then you're on there twice, I guess. If you can do that. If you can manage to resub twice, then you're on there twice. Game the system. Good job, you. Yeah. I'm trying to rig it so Vincent doesn't win. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Vincent, thank you for giving a sub to Jay Fair. Good to see you. Been a minute. Glad to have you back. Hope life is going well for you. Yeah, and I just want to let you guys know today is probably going to be a shorter day. Because if we finish up Star Wars Knights of the Republic in a timely fashion, I will be taking off a little bit early to go thrift store shopping. We're going to go thrift shopping to find some outfits and costumes and all that kind of stuff for Burning Man. So we're going to hit up all the Goodwills and the I don't know, Salvation Armies. There's no arcs here, as far as I know. But there are a few thrift stores here around where we live in Texas. So we're going to hit those up. Isn't the formal costume for Burning Man like leather straps and spikes? There's no formal costume. You can wear whatever you want or nothing at all. You can wear zero clothes if you like. A lot of people do that. A lot of people pack really light for Burning Man. Check out the video game section. Oh, I always do, Ties. I always check out the video game section when I do this. Cleaning dust from your ass for weeks. That's why you have Burning Man gear and it stays in the garage. I swear to God, like, you do not bring anything from the burn inside if you can help it, because that dust, just, there's no way to clean all of it off, everything that gets dusty. So yeah, once you get back home, you unload it and you put it back in the bin where it came from and you leave it dusty until next year. I bet there's shit that I have that has dust from 10 years ago. 12 years ago. My first burn was 2014. So yeah. Vintage dust. Well, that's the thing, like, it's dusty, but there's no moisture, so it doesn't get moldy. It's just really dusty. Yeah, anything that was at the mud burn, well, not anything, but a lot of shit was sacrificed to the mud burn. Like, we got home where we had to throw a bunch of shit out. Just like, you know, mostly footwear stuff. But yeah, that mud burn, like, destroyed, like, anything that was, like, on your feet. Yeah, no, do not bring your favorite clothes out to the burn. Unless it's designed to be dirty and dusty and that kind of shit. Yeah. Hopefully it won't be insane this year, especially with the heat. That's the hope, man. That's the hope. I'm looking forward to our recap when we come back. Sharing all the pictures and whatnot. I always love those streams. Those are some of my favorite streams. Where I come back and share my experience with you guys. I think I've convinced a few people to go just from doing those little recaps. Like, a few people who would normally have gone have gone. And that's cool. I love that. I hope so. You got a camp yet? Oh, yeah. We have a camp that we go with. That we got we're the Second Wind Pirate Cafe. And we do late night coffee service. We go from like 8 or 9 to midnight or 1, somewhere around there. And we serve coffee. And we can put liquor in it if you want to. So. There's a big wildfire west of the burn. It's 95% contained. Might be smoky, though. Yeah, we're used to breathing in all kinds of particulates out there. There's no way to avoid it. You eat, like, I probably, in my 6 years going, I've probably eaten a pound of dust. Just from breathing. Well, considering how hot it is in Texas, it probably feel nice. It says for me the field temp is 115 today. Well, that's the thing. Out in the desert, it's a dry heat, which I can handle. I can handle a dry heat. The bad thing about Texas is it got humidity. That just... It's like walking through a comforter made of hot. Hopefully you reconnected with the party you still wandering the playa high as fuck. There's a part of me that's still out there, Lenny. There's a part of me that's still trying to make it to the man. Short stream thing. I remember the final battles taking long for me. I don't remember why. RPG is, one general could say, it's not a skill issue. Okay. No, I'm prepared. I'm prepared for the battles to be bitches. Are you going to spend any time at the Dusty Crevice nudist camp? Maybe. And if you just made that up, the funny thing is, I bet there's a camp with that actual name. If you didn't make that up. There's all kinds of nudist camps, like with like the Dusty Buns nudist camp. Or like rock out with your cock out nudist camp. Stuff like that. So, yeah. I hope I made it up. I didn't check. No, I bet I would just bet. If I find one that is similar to that, I will take a picture and I will show you, Sitley, that there is probably a camp with a name like that or exactly that. The average attendance on Burning Man, I'm not sure, but as far as I know, it's somewhere between 50 and 70,000. Depending on the year. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but I bet you could Google it. I bet you can find out. Um, $78,000. 78,000 in 2019. 78,850 was the record. So I guess I'm off. So it's somewhere between 60 and 80,000 then. Yeah, that's right pre-COVID. That was 2019, right pre-COVID, yeah. There's no official prominent registered theme camp named Dusty Crevice Nudist Camp at Burning Man. Well, I guarantee you there are camps with names like that, for sure. Well, there is now. Yeah, I'm making it. I think I'd like to do the nudist camp or something like that, but I'm afraid that I get a random boner and get disqualified. I don't know if there's disqualification in nudist camps. I think you just if you get a boner at a nudist camp, I think you just you have to make use of it. Like, put a hat on it or like a nice scarf or something until it goes down. A little bow tie. There you go. Oh, that's right. You're no longer nudist if you do that. Oh shit, you're right. I don't think there's a lot of purists out there with the nudity camps. Like, I think you can wear a hat. I think you can wear like jewelry, or you can wear like wristbands, stuff like that. Like, I think it's just like you have to be naked, and you can wear shoes. In fact, it's recommended to wear shoes. So I think from the ankle up to the neck, I think that has to be nude. But the rest of it, your extremities, I think is fine if you put clothes on those. Yes, you can leave your hat on. Speaking of UT, have you been to a Longhorn football game yet? No. Nope, I have not been to a football game out here yet. One advantage of being fat, if I were a nudist camp with a boner, no one would notice. That's fair. Sure. Have you witnessed any fights at Burning Man? Not one. And I'm not even joking. Barium. I have not witnessed a single fisticuff altercation. I've definitely seen shouted words being exchanged, but I have never seen anyone get into like an actual physical fight. There's many reasons for that. One, it's the vibe. Two, it's too fucking hot to get in a fight out there, at least during the daytime. Three, at night, there might be fights everywhere, and I've just never seen one. Because it's pretty dark out there if you're not lit up. But I have seen people get arrested. So there is a police presence out there. So I've seen people get stopped and searched and handcuffed and shit like that. I've seen that happen. I mean, Thunderdome doesn't really count as a fight, though, really. I mean, I'm going with the spirit of the question. Like, yes, I've seen fights in the Thunderdome where they're supposed to be with foam bats, stuff like that. How far does it count for police presence? It's federal land, Jordy Jones. So it's not really the police per se. It is the Bureau of Land Management. So they're federal police or federal law enforcement. They're not really like police per se. But it's the same people who would arrest you if you're at, like, I don't know, a national park or something. Maybe. Can't wait for UFC at Burning Man in a few years. No one would like that. No one would like that for a couple of reasons. One, fighting is like just beating the shit out of each other is one thing, but like also the UFC and all this, they're just all about advertising it, and that is not allowed out there. So the UFC would not want to come out there because you're not allowed to post billboards or ads or anything like that. You're supposed to, like, you know, unwritten rule, you cover up all logos and shit like that. You don't, like, and there's nobody selling anything out there either. My mom asked for a t-shirt. She was like, hey, when you go out to the burn this year, could you get a t-shirt for me? I'm size medium. I'm like, they don't sell anything like that, Mom. No one sells anything out there except for ice. The only thing that you can buy is ice. What was the nickname for the rich snobs at Burning Man again? Not rich snobs. I know there's like they're glamping. I'm not sure I know, because I know of a nickname for people who go out there and just want to look pretty and don't do anything. That's called Sparkle Pony. If you're a Sparkle Pony, that means you go out there and you just, like, you're out there for the gram. To take photos for the gram. And you're not out there to, like, experience the, you know, the fun or the, you know, that kind of shit. You don't want to get dirty. You just want to be cute and that kind of shit. No, not ice, not that. No, ice is in the frozen water. Speaking of being arrested, Zeke, here is a UK joke probably won't work for you. I got arrested in Home Depot last week when I walked in. A store assistant asked if I wanted decking. Luckily, I managed to throw the first punch. Oh, yeah, deck. To get decked? Oh, yeah. I know what getting decked is. My dad used to say that. Oh, he decked him. Bah! Punched him right in the face. Great chance for Zeke to take a plain white medium tea and have some crazy art nut, make a custom piece. Oh, yeah, that's actually a great idea. Holy shit, Bahama, that's a great idea. Wow. Have you seen Zootopia? They did a funny thing with Burning Man called Burning Mammal. Yes, I saw that. Yeah, that was cool. I also saw the South Park when Cthulhu, when Cartman summons Cthulhu and they go to Burning Man. And the funny thing is, like, as mocking as it is, it's yeah, they're not far off. It's Burning Man. there is that out there for sure. Yeah, South Park always gets past. They're usually spot on or not far from the mark. So. All right. We have blathered. We have gone past the ad break. It is time for the War in the Stars. Let's do this. All right. Here we are on Malcor 5. Malcor in the middle. Okay. Okay, don't have to... Nope. Bunch of bonus missions that I have left undone. So I don't have a core mission right now, but we have, if you looked, we have killed all the Jedi Masters. And, oh, I guess I just got an achievement. Have your character... Oh. Oh my god. Have any of your character replace any of the Sith Lords on the main menu screen. So I'm dark side enough that I was on the main menu. I didn't even notice. That's great. All right. Do a quick autosave. You scared me with that. There. I did a quick autosave and hard save, or quick save and hard save. Celtic Knight, you scared me. Do you know who the big bad is yet? No, I do not. A storm beast? Oh. Well, you're too far away, homie. Now try it. There you go. Blorp. Blorp. Also, tying to the previous conversation, this is the same outfit Zeke will be wearing at Burning Man. You are not wrong. You're not wrong. No Blade today. I'm finishing up KOTOR. I really like Blade was good for a day, but I have no desire to go back to it. That shit was jank to a point that I don't want to put up with it anymore. And I mean the FPS of that game is just fucking ridiculous. Ooh, powers, okay. Do I want anything? Wow, the battle music is still raging. Oh, maybe I should get this just in case. Or get kill. I could get kill. Or force breach, which will help me against other Jedis. You know what? We're dark side. Let's just get kill. See what happens. Range power that causes the target to choke for 6 seconds and inflicts damage close to half the target's maximum vitality points. Target makes fortitude save versus my difficulty level. Oh, instead suffer damage equal to the attacking character's level. Yeah, weird. If it doesn't one-shot shit, it's very poorly named. I remember Power Word Kill from D&D. That was pretty great. There we go. Let's try that. Or not. You know, whatever. I'm too far away. That's not nearly as good as I was hoping it was gonna be. Might be just a dot, yeah. Nope. Oh, other way, other way, other way. Okay. Oh, that's it. That's all there's in here. The slow plague skills? Yeah, I should have put, probably should have put more into that stuff. God, there's so many of these fucking things. At least I know where to go if I want to farm levels, I suppose. Whoops, that was dumb. You want something with a beat? All right. I guess that's not really a beat, is it? Well, I mean, I have two options. We'll do this one.
Hi, my name is what? My name is Coco Connor.
There you go. Man, that Force Crush, not only does it hurt pretty good, it also like stuns them and takes them out of the equation for a couple of seconds, which is nice. Well, I don't know what I just got. Number of death blast rounds these Sith appear to have been recently killed by fire from a heavy repeater rifle. Okay.
Darth Titius.
That's my name. Darth Titius. Thank you, Tronix, for the 34 months. Super Ito with 54. Thank you, Pete, for the bits. Oh, yes. Bow before me. Oh, shit. My power is unmatched. Ultimate.
If you are watching this,
What?
then what the General suspected was true. The Sith are striking from the graveyard of Malachor 5. The ship the Sith Lord was on was one of the vessels damaged in that final battle. If you reach Malachor's surface, the mass shadow generator can be undone, provided there are enough vessels intact within the orbiting debris or buried in the planet's surface. Use the sequence I am unlocking in your memory banks on the engine core of any vessel you encounter on Malachor. If my calculations are correct, 4 vessels should be enough to power up the mass shadow generator and undo the damage that was done in Malachor 5, the damage I did. Once the sequence has begun, it cannot be stopped. So make sure the General is off the planet before triggering the sequence. Otherwise, there will be no retreat. I know your weapon systems are minimal, and I don't know what awaits.
Why does
on
this guy always have a
surface.
bedroom voice?
Try to avoid contact with any potential threats. Follow your programming.
Your programming commands you to find 4 vessels buried within Malachor's surface and activate the engine systems on each one. When the engine systems are activated, it will disrupt the gravitonic anomaly that is keeping the planetoids fused together, and Malachor 5 will begin to drift apart. Warning, you have no offensive weapons, and if you are destroyed, then you will have failed your mission. Travel across the planet as fast as you can to each of the points and activate the engine systems one at a time. Oh, good lord. At least this guy goes fast. Oh my god. This seems a bit silly. Is this stuff that was cut out of the original? I think this was a weird rush thing where Bao-Dur was originally scripted to die on the Sith ship or something, and that's why this message is, if you're reading this, I'm dead. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's one. Fuck you. What am I getting caught on, dude? I can float. Great. Are you fucking kidding me with this? Good lord.
Why are we playing as one of our 2D2's orcs?
I think this is probably something that they cut out and it was a good thing. Thank you to J Master with 103 months. Oops. Well, you can see like these little like offshoots that they look like that's where I'm supposed to go. That's where I'm supposed to go. And now I don't see any more of them. I suppose maybe that guy right there, but I think I already went down that way. Oh, so you do need to go into the, okay. I just didn't know if all 4 of them were on this level or not. This doesn't look right. God, wow. Way to just break up the fun climactic action by having this little fucking fetch quest with this stupid little piece of shit. This could have been an email. Oh, you whiffed me. lame. Lame. Lame, ultra lame. Hella lame. Okay, we did that one. Oh, and now we got, there we go. There it is. Okay, it's right ahead of us. We found it already. Let's do it. Lame. Lame. God damn it, dude. %. Do we do it?
If you are hearing this, then the sequence has been completed. When active, it will destroy Malachor.
Again!
I have one last command for you.
Self-destruct.
You must remain behind.
Oh.
And ensure that the sequence fires properly once the general gives the command.
Close enough.
If not, then all we have fought for has been for nothing. You have done all I asked, all you were built for.
Jesus
And for
Christ.
that, I thank you.
Hurry up.
Touching. The probability of the Iridonian installing trigger commands within your core was high. I see the probabilities have played out. Of course, the probability that I would do the same is equally high. Your inability to move right now is evidence of that. If the General issues the command, only I will be here to receive it. You realize I cannot permit you or the Exile to activate the mass shadow generator here on Malachor. In that, your programming and mine conflict. And since you have no offensive weaponry to speak of, the probability of your programming overriding mine is low. You must understand that the General would not wish the relics or the Sith strength here on Malachor to be compromised. Their presence is needed to stabilize the galaxy. Without them, the galaxy would be reduced to anarchy within years. And if there is anything I can't stand, it's an untidy galaxy. So, let us wait here, you and I, for the General's orders and calculate the probable fate of the galaxy.
Correction. One could rust listening to your speeches, Fat One. Perhaps it is the large unwieldy vocabulator within your moon-sized frame that prevents your calculations from taking me into account. And while I find this small droid annoying in the extreme, I find my urge to shoot you takes a higher priority.
Unfortunately for you, I have arranged for friends to meet me here, and you seem to have brought none of your own. Stop him.
Unexpected correction. We cannot harm that unit. It is a violation of our self-preservation programming. Statement. As always, Fat One, you have miscalculated.
Ah, an unfortunate oversight.
Uh-oh.
Statement. I understand, Assassination protocols activated. Let us see what you have in your arsenal, Fat One.
All I wished was to fulfill my programming. Either way, the Republic is the...
Observation.
These
I
nuts!
thought he would never die.
Thought he would never die.
Come close.
Okay.
Let me look upon you and see what the exile's teaching has forged. Wasted pawn of the Republic, and a fool. Which of you wishes to try yourselves against me? As you can see, I am unarmed. You, perhaps. You are a wasted pawn of the Republic, young one. You could have been so much more, even with your wide-eyed innocence, your naive love for others.
She deflected him with her titties. Look at that. She's deflecting him with her titties. And dead. Aww.
Think. Think before you throw away your life for her. Think of everything you will lose by dying. Your lusts unfulfilled, a dance unfinished, a love requited. Think before you give it up so quickly.
Bye. He's out. It's like, oh my God, you just choked the shit out of that guy. And he was more powerful than me. I'm gonna get out of here. Shit.
And I get the fool.
Out of the frying pan.
Funny. That's just what I was thinking.
Oh, seriously? We're doing this? Oh, all he has is master sniper shot? Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's no fucking way I win this.
I'm not done with you yet.
Nor are you. I will remake you. So when I look upon you, it shall be like a mirror. Then I shall let you die.
There's nothing
love that he's
worse
Scottish.
you can do to me.
Who saw that
Take
coming?
your time.
No, I didn't change. I didn't
When the
switch anybody
exile
over to
enters
my
the
side,
First Academy,
Jedi-wise.
she will be faced with a choice. One path, assuming she survives, will allow her to save her friends, but she shall be the weaker for it.
Nah.
The other route will lead her directly to this place, through the ones that have hounded her steps from the beginning, and she shall have her vengeance.
Vengeance
Show
sounds
her
good.
every respect when she arrives in these halls, Lord Scion. This I command you.
This I command! The fight is actually winnable. You can save Atten. Oh, I would assume it's winnable, but I definitely don't care to win. Let's just see what the Force Storm does at this moment. Pretty good. Pretty good. pretty good. Oops. There you go. Make him insane first. And then just zap them until they die from it. One more. Keep zapping. Keep on zapping. What? Oh, what are you doing? What are you fucking fighting for? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Lightsabers are for those who can't call down the power of lightning. Hey, what's going on, bud? You look like you're in pain. Oh, God! I don't have any, like... I don't know of any specific place I'm supposed to go. I don't have a map for this area, so... God damn! There we go. Oh, man! Wow, that was close. There we go. All right, now we're back up. I guess I killed Kratos, whoever that is. There we go. Oh, health bar's behind me, right here. Uh-oh. I left one up. Oh, you got me. Yeah, I'm pretty squishy. Also, I'm wearing a, you know, I have no defense, as you can see. Do it, get him. There you go. Nope. God damn it. There we go. Nope. Off of everything. I guess you're already in the middle of doing that? Sure, why not? Whatever. There you go. Okay. Dexterity +1 and saves +3. If anything that's like immunity to the force. Wait, damage bonus +2 to 12 electrical? Oh, when you do unarmed combat. Oh, okay. 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 Immune from critical hits is cool. Yeah, sure. Absorption visor. Yeah, we're done with persuading and charisma now. Now we just want. There you go. Let's get some regeneration. Why not? Oh, that just gives me just straight up. That's not a usable thing. That just gives me straight up bonus. Okay. Wait, the Achani Dueling Shield, is that versus energy? Yeah, energy and electrical. Okay, so that's versus lightsabers. Hey guys. Ah, damn it. Okay. Well, when they open the door right there, when you open the door and they're just bad guys just standing in front of you. Okay. Nope. So I don't have much of a choice then. I have to open this door. There we go. Yeah. So it is kind of a combat gauntlet, eh? West Cells. I don't know, that seems like somewhere I'm supposed to go, yeah? Oh. Or not. There we go. Well, fuck. I didn't even have to go this way. Okay. This looks right. Oh, Jesus! There we go. All dead. Yes. Yes. No one can resist me. Oops. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ah, she got me up. She got me. Shit. I have to go through this goddamn door. Do it again, do it again. You'll get him this time. There you go. You can handle one probably, maybe. Maybe not. Oh, that was delayed. Oh, they're all dead. Hey, look at that. That works. There we go. Yes, indeed. I am made of tissue paper in this build. Thankfully, I have lots of crowd control, so that's nice. Are you fucking kidding me? That's not what I wanted to do at all. Oh, they're droids. Oh, shit. Well, we better just destroy them then. Oh, no. Not you. There we go. That works. Heal. And a heal. Okay. Yeah, my AoE is bananas. I put all my points into that shit. Yeah, we'll find a way to cheese it, Overjoyed Android, I'm sure. There you go. And that's how we handle single guys. All the single ladies. All the single ladies. You force crush those nuts. That's how we deal with Jedi. No, 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 please don't do that.
You should not have come to Malachor. She will break you, your mind, your body. You will be lost. Return to the surface. Let the planet claim you, as it claimed the other Jedi. There is no reason for you to suffer at her hands.
What is this place?
It is ancient. A relic that survived the destruction of Malachor. It was always here, far before the Mandalorian Wars. It draws death and hate to it, channels it. Atrocities feed its power, and with its power, it creates hunger. Many Jedi have been consumed by it.
Do I look like a Jedi to you? Let's see. Where'd it come from?
It has been here for thousands of years. It is a place where the Sith teachings run strong. It is the threshold of the borders of an ancient empire. Kreia says it was a place of reflection for the ancient Sith, a gateway to their lands. It drew Lord Revan, and it calls to her as well.
Yo, Banelink, I'm sorry I missed you. Thank you for the 12 months, one whole year, baby.
The Sith, the true Sith, and all their shadowed worlds. This place led Revan to the graveyards of Korriban and beyond.
Bed Bath and Beyond?
Fun fact. This place was also the first blockbuster video on Malachor. I just thought that was a fun fact.
What happened to Revan?
It does not matter. The Lord Revan had the galaxy at his feet, could have made it strong, and he surrendered it to weakness. Like you, Revan touched power and turned away. The chance to heal this fractured galaxy, and he turned away. I was there when the Academy on Korriban fell, and the Sith turned on one another like beasts. Our chance at an empire, destroyed by Revan.
Where's Kreia?
She awaits on the Traeus core in the heart of this planet, but you will never reach her.
Why not? Why are you telling me this?
You and her are alike, yet different in all the ways that matter. And I hate you as I hate her. I hate you because you crawl within my head as she does. But your presence holds no thoughts, no teachings. You are just there, unspoken. I hate you because you are beautiful to me. And in that weakness lies death. Perhaps in that weakness is the death of
wait a
my
minute.
master as well.
We could rule of two this and have me be the master, you be my apprentice, and maybe we get a little bean flicking action going on. What do you think? What should I do? Let's see. You can turn away from the Force Scion as I did. It holds you here. Let go.
One cannot abandon the Force, any more than one can abandon one's will.
Okay. What is Kreia's weakness, Scion?
What it has always been. Her weakness is you.
Kreia told me your will is what holds you together.
The power of the dark side is what holds me together. Many times have I been near death, and always have I been in pain.
Okay. Let's see. Scion, we need not battle. You've been a presence in my mind as well.
Then turn from this place. Do not
says-
go to her. Preserve yourself.
You've eroded Sion's will, reducing his will saves constitution and wisdom. Oh my god, look at that.
You are strong. I cannot see as she does, but I know that in time you shall surpass her power.
That wasn't
But
non-dark
not
side.
here. Not in this place.
I'm reducing his will. This is strategy. You are right to fear me.
I fear no one, for while the Force is with me, I yet live.
Okay. Well, we'll see about that. Are you ready to die? Is this what we do? Yeah, ready to die? Okay, we'll see about that. Ready to die?
I am ready for you, exile.
Okay.
I have waited years to see the last of the Jedi fall before me, to join the
This fight's
rest
gonna
that
suck.
lie buried within this planet's core. The end of the Jedi is at hand.
I agree. Why are we fighting? Wow.
Now you realize the true power of the dark side. As long as the dark places of this world flow through the cracks of my flesh, I cannot be killed.
Let's see. Now tell yourself that 100 times, I will strike you down 100 times. Oh, okay.
was strong as I had believed. But she knows you cannot defeat me. Surrender now. Return to the surface of Malachor. Do not force me to destroy you.
Okay. Great respects only when to turn away from the power. She has chosen me because I gave up the Force. She's already chosen Scion. She's only using you to test me. You may not die, but she has no use for you. For one who betrayed her. Yeah. She's already chosen me, Scion. She's only using you to test me.
Should you die, then she will have no choice but to accept me at her side. My training shall be complete, as was intended.
Okay. Do not let her deceive you and stop deceiving yourself. She broke you once, she will break you again. Surrender now, Scion. I don't want to kill you. Fight or die, but spare me the threats. I guess that one.
You are the one who will fall. Die, Jedi. If I die here, then you will have sealed your fate.
Okay. Scion, even should you beat me, Kreia is marked for death. You know this. I'm stronger than you expected. I'm stronger than Kreia expects. Let me confront her and we shall see.
There is truth in your words.
There we go. Let me
but
confront her.
There is nothing left for me except my master.
You've eroded Sion's will, reducing his will saves constitution and wisdom. Okay.
I fight because it is the power that the Force fills me with.
How many times do I gotta fucking kill this guy?
To inflict the pain on others. I can die 100 times, exile, and still I will rise again as strong as before. I will not fall. I cannot die.
You have already been defeated. Surrender and I will spare you. Get up, Sith Lord, and I will prove to you that you can die. You have fallen and you are dead. You only must admit it. Which choice? Which choice is the most dark? I will prove you can die or you are already dead. Oh my wamu. Shindiru. 2? Okay. Get up, Sith Lord, and I will prove to you that you can die.
Why? Why did she choose you? What makes you able to defeat me? Defeat me here?
Because I was able to turn away from it, you cannot. If giving up the Force, one gains strength. That would be impossible otherwise. The place is not what matters. It is the man. Oh, it is simple. As she did, I was forced to survive without the Force. That is what she expects. Yeah, yeah. The place is not what matters. It is the man.
The Force is who I am. The dark side fills me. It is what I am.
And Kreia hates Force even as she wields it. If the Force is what you are, then that is what she despises. Force fills an empty, shattered shell. There is little left of the man you once were. You know this. It is possible to live without the Force and die without it. Tough one. Call him bald. I think 2. The Force fills an empty, shattered shell. There's little left of the man you once were. You know this. Oh shit, is it skipping dialogue? It is a true sign you feel it. Let it go. Such a terrible thing. What kind of life you live with the Force flowing through you? Was it worth living? I have beaten you. Admit it finally and surrender.
You have defeated me. Flesh and belief, both cast down. Kreia, she will try to break you, to teach you how far someone can fall. Her weakness is you, as you are mine. I am glad to leave this place. At last.
Blah, blah, blah. And down he goes. Let's loot his body now. Ankare Sapphire, Expert Deflection Emitter, Lightsaber, and Dark Jedi Master Robe. Still doesn't look as good as my outfit, though. I'll tell you that much. I should probably go. Wait, yeah, to the Treyas core. That's where I need to go. You want me to try it on? Okay. There it is. Jedi Knight, Jedi Master Robe. There we go. Yeah. I mean, it looks all right. But honestly, Darth Tidius is my go-to. All right, here we go. Good. Hard save there. Head on up.
At last you have arrived. Is Malachor as you remember?
I've come to kill you, Kreia.
I know, but there is more than death in this galaxy, and you shall not find it easy. It was difficult to draw you here, but it had to be done. This place is your last test. It is the graveyard of the past, where you lost everything. It is the dark place in your mind that still echoes of failure. Now we shall see if you can overcome the weight of Malachor and silence the echoes that beat from its heart.
Okay. There is much I must ask you.
You no doubt have many questions. I would be a poor teacher if I did not give you the answers you seek here now.
Why did you destroy Atris?
I never destroyed Atris. She had destroyed herself. I merely stripped away the illusion and brought her truth. Her teachings could not be allowed to continue, and like Malachor, she was part of your past, unresolved. She needed to be something you could confront and defeat one last time. It was part of your training. Part of what was needed to make you complete. And there must always be a Darth Treya. The galaxy needs its betrayers, especially in the times to come. She loved you, you know, as one loves a champion. You were all that she could not be.
She is defeated and that's all that matters.
Of course. Let us speak no more of such things. We shall let the dead lie, as the dead lie upon Malachor.
Darth Treya, the betrayer. The Academy here won't last, Kreia. I can activate the mass shadow generator again.
More talk of machines and threats. If you would end Malachor, then do it. But it will not be a victory for you. You may hold Malachor in your grasp, but I hold the answers to your past and future in mine. Would you destroy us both before learning them? If so, then do it, for you have already failed me.
Zeke, you think people get pink eye from butterfly kissing buttholes? Jesus Christ. Yes! Why have you done this?
It is said that the Force has a will. It has a destiny for us all.
Yeah.
I wield it, but it uses us all, and that is abhorrent to me, because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will, that it would control us to achieve some measure of balance when countless lives are lost. But in you, I see the potential to see the Force die, to turn away from its will, and that is what pleases me. You are beautiful to me, Exile. A dead spot in the Force, an emptiness in which its will might be denied.
If you hate the Force, why do you use it?
I use it as I would use a poison, and in the hopes of understanding it, I will learn the way to kill it. But perhaps these are the excuses of an old woman who has grown to rely on a thing she despises.
Why me?
Perhaps you were expecting some surprise, for me to reveal a secret that had eluded you, something that would change your perspective of events, shatter you to your core. There is no great revelation, no great secret. There is only you.
I'm glad you liked it, Funkelgeist. It was fun for a day, for sure. You were manipulating me all along.
Yes, always. From the moment you awoke, I have used you. I have used you so that you might become strong, stronger than I. I used your death to deceive the Sith, to make them believe they had won, so they would turn on each other.
You also used me to get revenge on Cyan and the others.
I used you to keep the Lords of the Sith from condemning the galaxy to death with their power unchecked. I used you to lure them to Telos, where they could be at last fought and killed. I used you to reveal Beatrice's corruption, so that her teaching could be ended before it began. I used you to gather the Jedi so they could be destroyed. And I used you to make those who wounded me reveal themselves, so they could be killed by the Republic.
Why have you done this?
It is said that the Force, I wield it, but it uses us all, and that is abhorrent to me, because I hate the Force.
Yep,
but
I get it.
You are beautiful.
Okay. Next, what happens now?
The apprentice must kill the master. If you do not, I will kill you. If I do not, then all you have achieved will be as nothing, as empty and as violent as Malachor itself.
Okay. Then let us end this. Oh shit, we're doing it. Okay. Lord. 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 She's trying to zap my force. It's all about my MP. Will my MP withstand? Okay, my MP will withstand. Okay. Okay. I don't need your cheat anymore. I defeated you in both mind and body. Are you ready to die, old woman? Are you ready to die, old woman?
I died long ago, and now the circle is complete. Strike me down, and at last end this.
I am Jedi. I will not strike a defenseless opponent. No, this is already over. Your life is yours. You can teach me. You cannot teach me anymore. It shall be my pleasure. There it is.
Good. You have strength, but you have yet to learn the full extent of power.
Oh, what the fuck is this? A second phase? No, what are you doing? No, don't do that. Damn it, dude. Okay. I love that they just get hits on me. Oh my god, there's an invisible fucking wall there! Yeah, no, okay. Okay. No, oh my god, come on now. Jesus fucking Christ. What are you doing? Stop fucking attacking. Why is that always on the fucking docket? Nope. Stop attacking first! Jesus Christ, stop putting that on the first thing! God, I hate that, dude. There we go.
It is
there we got her.
At last, it is done. You are greater than any I have ever trained. By killing me here, you have rewarded me more than you can possibly know.
You left me no choice. I defeated you. You're no longer my master, and my path is my own. Proud words. Now die, old woman. I think she liked that. Now let us see if Malachor will accept your body, old woman. She gets the Emperor's death then, huh? This is Malachor! Boop.
You're alive. Did I
Yes,
save
Wizmander.
you yet?
You're exactly correct. Yes, be still. She lost a lot of blood. She lost a lot of blood.
Your eyes. That bad, huh? Always was ugly. Now the outside matches. Was waiting for this, but it's not fair. Let you down. Was supposed to save you.
Malachor touched all of us. We died there. We all died there, and the echo kept traveling. It just took us a while. Took a while to reach us.
Was tired of living anyway. Too many deaths. Never told you. Lied to you.
Yeah, I thought we were connected. If she dies, I die. Maybe not. I don't know. You never needed to tell me that, and I knew all that was your past is forgiven and be still. Oh my God, no dark side. Where's the dark side response?
I don't want you to see me like this. I don't want to die in front of you. Can't bear it.
Too bad, stab. I didn't romance him. No, I didn't do anything. I treated him like garbage. I don't know why I'm caring for him now. If you're trying to get rid of me, it's not working. There is no death, that and only the Force. Sure, that seems cold.
Loved you from the moment I first saw you.
Oh my fucking God.
Thought you were a dream. Meant every word. Tried to play it off as a joke. Wasn't funny. Hurts when I laugh. Hurts.
There should have been like a dark side response in those responses, right? You'd think? At least I would think. Something like, can you just stop talking and die already? Here, let me help you. What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. I did not expect that to be so abrupt. Zeke, I heard your character was likes taking Sith loads. You'll never find a more wretched hive of cum that's filling me. Oh my God. Yeah, the asshole playthrough is real short, man. Don't want no short game. Damn, dude. I seriously, I only had 2.5 hours left. What do you think of Cray overall? I think she's great. I love her motivation to, like, you find out her motivation is to kill the Force. And I think that's great. I think that's a cool motivation. She's like, my will is my own. And the Force, I want the Force to die so that it is my own 100%. The Force doesn't get to tell me what to do or whatever. I like that. I didn't mind that at all. So who was the bad guy throughout the entire thing? Was just Kreia manipulating everything? Okay, okay. No, I was still waiting for one last twist, one last character we didn't know about or something, but I liked her motivation. I thought she was a great, and I like that she was a bad guy. Like, not really, like, I can identify with that, man. I can absolutely identify with not wanting to be controlled by anything. And I thought, now that I know her name, Sarah Kestelman, did a fucking fantastic job voice acting it for her. She was great. By far the best voice acting in either two games, in my opinion. Yeah, bad guy probably is the wrong word to use. And antagonist. She was my foil the entire time. It's the only video game character she ever voiced. That's sad, man. That's sad. She could have had a long and storied career, I think, in video games if she chose to go that way. Yeah, you can tell she's a theater person. Just by the inflection and the way the power she puts into everything she says. Yeah, she's great. She does sound a little bit like Maggie Smith. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Did you sell the Wookiee as a slave? No. That Wookiee, like, as long as I could have a group, it was me, Kill Bear, and Murderbot. That was my squad. And the rest of them just remain unleveled. It's like, hey, here's a new guy. Like, fuck that, dude. Give me my Murder Bear and my Killbot, and we're good to go. We're good to go. Because they did not look down on me for any of my choices. In fact, I made his circuit sizzle with every evil choice that I made. Oh, master. Oh yeah, when HK like approves of you, what, like the evil shit you're doing, it's just such a like, yeah, that's my bot. That's my bot. That's my goat. That's why he's in both games. By the way, for anyone wanting to play the Steam version, there's another mod I recommend now, 100%. Really? Fog Fix More 3C FD Patcher? Okay. Oh, these are the mods. The mod folks get their credits too. That's nice. One way to get a different ending with the companions, you kind of need to either get plus or negative affinity. Yeah. Next step from KOTOR 2 is Jade Empire, huh? Maybe someday. Well, I hope you can still hear me whispering, Goblin. What's next for today? Well, we're gonna watch the Last Week in Zeke. Because this last week, Wednesday, we're gonna watch Last Week in Zeke, and then I'm gonna take off a little early today. Well, a lot early, I suppose, because I got thrift store shopping to do for Burning Man. Me and Katie are gonna go to the thrift store, and we're going to shop for costumes and clothes and stuff like that on the cheap, that we can, get dusty and dirty and all that kind of stuff. Wait, did I play through Jade Empire? Oh, these are just the... Oh, I got 53 of 63. Okay. My last stream before Burning Man is next Tuesday. Tuesday, isn't it? So I did play through Jade Empire. I don't remember it. What is this mess? Oh, okay. Ad block. Just ad block. All right, let's boot up the Last Week in Zeke. We'll all watch it together. Oh, there it is. Okay. Which game was this? Oh, it was Oldies But Goodies month. Oh my God, that was 10 years ago, dude. 10 years ago. Jesus Christ. Yep, I've had that intro for 10 years.
Physical hardness and ability to withstand damage. Oh, wait, hold on. Can I,
Oh, Jade Empire's not part of the Star Wars universe, dude.
Those who announce their important destiny before they are ready.
Wow. Oh, Katie, you ready? I just finished the gamey. I was gonna watch Last Week in Zeke, and then I'm free for the rest of the day, so I can do whatever.
I don't have all the answers, but I know you will become very.
Yeah, no, I was like Jade Empire. That doesn't sound like a Star Wars game. But yeah, I played through this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see what the Last Week in Zeke is. Where are you? There you are. Oh, The Adventures of Sir Kixalot. Oh, this game was great, dude. This game is great. Okay, let's... Yeah, just hang out. We'll take 10 minutes, watch the newest highlight video, and then we'll call it a day. And we'll do some thrift shopping. And maybe even go shopping with Beth's mom or whatever. So, let's watch this. All right, what is this game? Here we go. The Adventures of Sir Kixalot is a first-person action game inspired by Dark Messiah that provides various ways for defeating your foes, with weaponry, sorcery, stealth, or clever tactics like kicking them into deadly spikes. All right, new game. Do you want to try the tutorial first? No, I'm an adult! Okay, fine. Okay. Yes, fire burns. Don't walk over it. Okay. Okay. Dear wife, I finally found a job in the castle called Tutorial. It's a bit weird though. I just have to stand in front of some spikes all day long. It pays well enough, and very soon I will be able to get back to you and pay for your medicine. Without these, we were so close to losing you. I hope the kids are well. They have nothing in the world apart from their parents. Tell them I love them more than anything, and I will have a surprise for them when I return. Today is my last day of work, and then nothing will stand between us. I miss all of you so much. Your loving husband, Gary. P.S. I guess the dog is still waiting for me each day at the door after all these years. Sorry, Gare. My bad. Oh, no, oh my God, I lit my fucking mace on fire. Now I have a flaming mace. This game is actually really fun. Where does Bo go? Oh, he's all burnt up. Melee tutorial. Okay. Let me grab these. Okay. And let's get out. Let's grab this. Oh, we'll try this first. The fisty. Oh, the big fist. What are we gonna do with this? Oh, that looks sexual. Okay. I hate games where you actually have to like mouse aim your block. Okay. Zeke, if you had no arms, how would you use your feet as weapons? I'd never wash them. Enemies might fall on the ground when hit by a heavy
just get 'em close to
item like
people.
a barrel, kicked,
Watch them
or
get
kicked
sick.
against a wall, or kicked down the stairs. Okay. I'm fucking Donkey Kong, bitch. Sorcery tutorial. Here we go. Oh yeah, toe jam definitely included. Fireball, ice ball, lightning, wind blast. You can create traps with spells. Hold Q and aim at the floor or the wall. Okay. That's great. Whoop, whoop. Fucking lay down. I love it. Whoop, zip. So I have a wind stick now. Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, you can infuse it with whatever you like. Wind, lightning, and fire. Oh, so ice kills the fire, though. Okay. So you can't have ice and fire in the same one, but you can have lightning, air, and frost, or fire. Fucking deleted that guy. God damn. God damn. Fucking deleted his ass. Wow, it's like we're the same person. Well, that didn't work out. God damn it! There was a pit there, son of a bitch. A broom. Okay. Oh, I can grab a rolling pin as well. There we go. Flaming broom. Oh! Now, let's not kill the mailman right away. Lady in Red, years ago you served my father in the Clown Wars. I regret that I am unable to see you in person, but my ship has fallen under attack and I've been kidnapped. This is my most
don't know,
desperate
Icy
hour.
Veins.
Help me, Lady in Red. You're my only hope. Princess Lopali. Awesome. Okay. Ultimate weapon. The fish. That's funny.
The fish
Okay,
is the
well, then we'll
ultimate
take it.
weapon.
Okay. So GTA rules, no touching water. Well, old GTA at least. Oh, there's a toilet. I looked so much younger last week. Do I? With hair? With more hair? Fucking idiot. Don't kick him. Oh, you prick. He went fucking. God damn it, he got a chair. Fucking. God damn, motherfucker. There we go. Just a wet slab of hot meat. There is that bitch. There she is. You were supposed to talk to her, not kill her. To continue the story, let's say that on your way back, your boat was caught in a storm.
Blah, blah, blah.
There we go. Aren't you a little short to be a knight? Hey, they gave me the Star Wars line. I'm Lady in Red. I'm here to rescue you. And I'm 96 pixels tall.
Blah, blah, blah.
You're not supposed to get this far. The guards were supposed to kill you. Well, I'm a pro gamer.
Blah, blah, blah.
Fine, I'll do it myself. Good stuff. Next level. There we go. All right. What are we going to do with our time? Well, all right, there it is. The last week in Zeke. The newest one. All right. I'm going to get that tweeted out, posted up. All right. What is this game? But for now, I'm out of here. Short stream today. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer, but we finished it. We beat it. We got Destiny dominated. Complete the game on the dark side. KOTOR complete. Tomorrow is going to be a very fun day. I'm going to start at my normal starting time. Probably going to play some Chop Chop Inc. for a couple of hours. And then big walk finale. Hopefully we can get all the puzzles and shit figured out tomorrow. But we got all our big walkers coming back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. So I'll be here at noon Eastern, starting my stream as normal. Play ran a different game, play Chop Chop for a couple hours, and then we big walk tomorrow. And then Friday, I don't know. What do we do Friday? Shit. Oh, I know. I know what we can do Friday. At the very least, we can continue on with Servant of the Lake. I love that game. I love the Rusty Lake games. I'm going to do more Servant of the Lake. So that's what we'll do on Friday. And then figure out what to do after that. So, and maybe Static Dread. Yeah, there you go. Servant of the Lake, Static Dread. The submarine game and the point-and-click puzzle game. Both of those are great choices. So, that's what we'll do on Friday. And then Saturday is Indie Saturday, if then, as well. So, that's what's coming up. I'm going to go thrift shopping for some costumes and shit for Burning Man. So, I'm out of here. Thanks for joining me.
And until next time, for all of my Berserkers, and for all of Zekonia, this is me, Zeke, saying... See ya!